All right, we'll just start on this end with Mr. Jenkins, and we'll just start. Some of these things most of you already outlined earlier, but what are some specific talents or experiences that you bring to the table that will help qualify you to be the best sheriff from Fayette County?
Okay, well, I mentioned in my speech about my promotions.
It should be.
I mentioned when I did my speech that I'd been hired in the police department in 1988, worked my way up to sergeant, which is basically a shift supervisor, and then lieutenant with the second command of the department. In that capacity, I served as second command of the chief. But what really I think prepared me for this challenge was when I was promoted commander of the drug task force. When that unit was started up in 2000, they hired 4 guys to work there for Fayette, Lamar, and Pickens County, and said, "This is your office." We go in the office, and there's not even a chair to sit in. They hired a bunch of guys to work, but we didn't have anything but a shed, really, basically, to work out of. So we had to scrounge around. So that's why I was saying I learned how to do this from the ground up. We had to find furniture, we had to find pencils, paper, we had to find everything we needed to work with. And as we did that, we began to coalesce as a unit, because we're getting to know each other, we're learning each other, how each other work, each other's personalities and things like that. So we learned to work together. And as that unit grew, we started being involved with other agencies, local agencies, the sheriff's departments through the 3 counties, the local police departments. When things got really hairy, or the drug cases got really involved, we would bring in the state and sometimes even federal people to help us work. So I learned what it took to put an agency together from the ground floor up, if you can look at it that way. And I tried to bring some of that with me, that experience with me to the police department. When I got appointed chief, I had all these ideas, the things I wanted to do. But I thought, I'm going to sit back and look and see why things are the way they are. There may be a logical reason why some things get done the way they do, and it might be best just to wait and see and look at those things. So I took the patient attitude towards my position as chief. I came in, I saw why some things I did change, some things I didn't. Once I got there, I understood why they were being done the way they were, and there was no reason to change them. Changing just for the sake of change is not always good. And I've always worked under the premise that if we've got a goal, if I set a goal for my department, and I say, guys, we're going to accomplish this task here, and this is the plan I have to get us there. If one of my guys comes and he says, "Chief, I like that plan, I like where we're going with it, but I think that we do it this way," and he shows me a better way to do it, it doesn't matter to Danny that it's somebody else's idea. I just want to get the job done for people with Fayette. I think I can bring that to the sheriff's department.
Well, with my experience, I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things. As a sergeant with the Tuscaloosa County Sheriff's Office, I oversaw a lot of personnel, and with the call volume that we had in that county, it gave me the experiences to see numerous types of different crimes that are committed on a daily basis. It's a very fast-paced world when you work at a large agency like that, but it gives us opportunities to see things that we may otherwise not see. Running shifts of 10 to 15 deputies and making sure that everything that they do is done properly, and making sure that every victim or community member that they come in contact is taken care of is one of my responsibilities that I had, and I took it very seriously, and we worked together really well. Also, being a sergeant at the jail, where we talked already tonight about the new jail being built here, and having the experiences of running a jail that housed over 500 inmates, gives me a unique perspective into how to make sure that this jail runs properly here and does the most for our community. I've been blessed with experiences that span the realm of law those opportunities and the folks that I've been blessed to work with, it's helped me out tremendously. I plan on bringing those experiences that I've had here to do the best job possible for everybody in this community, no matter where you live or who you know. We're going to be here for you.
I think the experience that I have starting at the sheriff's office, I started on the bottom and worked my way as high as I could go without being the sheriff. I think a lot of people don't realize the responsibility of the sheriff. Not putting on a badge and running around with a gun. It's all responsibility that goes along with that. You've got to be a people person. You've got to be able to listen to people. And I think with the experience I have is, well, you know, being over night shift supervisor, being able to run the jail on a day-to-day basis, you've got a lot of responsibility to get prisoners to court, getting them there on time, certain days, you gotta go to prison, pick up prisoners. So just, all the schooling in the world is nothing like on the job training. I think my experience is like,
I think my work ethic, dedication, no matter what I'm doing, is very important, and I think that shows. I actually had a construction business prior to getting into law enforcement, very successful. Being able to coordinate with general contractors, delegate jobs to other employees and stuff, that kind of prepared to help me. Once I got into law enforcement, I told you earlier, the thing, you know, that was my goal, was to be sheriff. And from day one, I focused on the drugs is what I done. And you see where I was dedicated and focused on doing that, it allowed me to get to the point where it's at. And as sheriff, you can't be prepared for everything that you're going to face there. It's a lot of administrative work to it. It's not only about getting out and arresting someone, answering calls. There's a lot more to it. You have jails you have to do. There's a civil process. You have the juvenile system you have to deal with. There's a lot that you have to do. But to be successful, you have to put good people around you. And when you do that, it makes your job a lot easier. And you get people around you, when you're loyal to each other, then you're going to be loyal to your community. And as sheriff, that's something we've been able to do, is be loyal to each other and be loyal to our community. Thank you.
All right. With safety in our schools nationwide being a huge issue, more an increase in school shootings and things, what are some things that you would consider doing to make it safer to send our children to school?
Well, first of all, we've been to every school at night. Maybe probably most of you don't know. Actually, we do active shooter training with our SWAT team. That's something we've been doing for a while. We've done it in every one of our schools there. It's just continue to just be visible there. If they'll tell you, two of the biggest reasons for mass shootings in schools is going to be lack of law enforcement presence and bullying. And, you know, try to get with the teachers and find out if there's any bullying going on and be at the schools as much as possible. And you talk about having an officer at every school. That's something I think it's a need, it's not a want, it's something that's got to happen. You say there's grants out there. There are grants, but we've applied for grants. We've been turned down for grants. If that was that easy, every county around us would have those officers. But something I would like to see happen here, if we still got Kyle still in the room, I looked at, why can't we take a 0.5%, earmark it for school safety, law enforcement only. That's going to generate about $500,000 a year. What's going to generate? You're looking at putting an officer in every school. That's going to be 6 officers. You're looking at $300,000. That's leaving you $200,000 for training, interfacing with the sheriff's office, whatever you may need to do. I think you was talking about earlier, that may decline over some of the years there because you was talking about, you know, internet, when you're buying on the internet, come down there, but still, that $500,000, if you look right now to see if they were at 9.5%, that rounds up to 10%. that's gonna be at nothing to the citizens. When it rounds up, you're gonna see some of your merchants is gonna hit that, but we're not gonna see any difference. Everyone in this county has, whether it's a daughter, it's a son, it's a grandparent, no matter who it may be, you've got someone in the school system. And me tell you, if you can't hear, you can't protect them, you can't educate them. So to me, we need to get some officer in school as quick as possible.
I agree with the sheriff. I think having officers in the schools is first priority. And like I stated earlier when I was talking about having a special response team, that is members from each sheriff's department, police departments in various Fayette. They train together. They work together. They go into schools together. In case of emergency, school shooting, they all work together. They know what each other is going to do. Another thing is having marked vehicles sitting in the school if you have an deputy at school. So someone comes along and decides to go into school, they don't know there's a deputy or officer there at the school. So I think being visible, training in the schools is first priority in having safer schools.
Like I said, school shootings aren't something that's new. It's been going on for quite some time. And the thing is we have to have someone in our schools. It's not something that we can talk about and then forget about. That's something that must happen. This is not a new thing. And so there are countless grants, and even more so, the more they talk about it on the news and in our government, the state is offering money for grants. The federal government is offering money for grants to hire these folks. And another thing with our jail, if we run it the way that I say and house these federal inmates, that can generate revenue to pay salaries. And then we don't have to worry about grants. But in the beginning stages of getting this thing going, we've got to do whatever it takes, whether that be me, myself, being in the schools and every other deputy being in the schools. It's one of those things that we can't just do it for show. We can't just go through the parking lot. We've got to be in the schools, developing relationships with these children. Because when we show up at the school and it's out of the norm for these children, then it's going to scare our kids. That's what's going to happen. And it's going to give them some panic feelings, and they should be knowing that if we're there to take care of them. And so there's plenty of money to go around as far as grants to put deputies in our schools. And if we work the way we should and do things properly with this jail, we can generate enough revenue to handle paying for these deputies in our schools. And it not be an issue to the taxpayers, and it not be an issue to have them there.
Well, this is probably one topic that all four of us guys are going to agree on as far as the SRO. It's an important thing. How those officers are funded is up for debate. I was in a meeting in Montgomery a couple of weeks ago, and this was one of the hot topics of grant money, especially ADECA-related grant monies for SROs. Unfortunately, that money is tied up in lawsuits because it was linked to sanctuary city bills, and it got tied up in that. So it's just one of those deals where, you know, people attach these little addendums to the bills and things like that, and it gets hung up. So the federal money is tied up because of the sanctuary city lawsuits. Justin is correct about the jail being a source of income that could go towards this. But if and when we have SROs, they have to be there as police officers. They can't be there as substitute teachers. They can't be there as hall monitors. They can't be there to stand in the commons and watch kids eat. They need to be there as a law enforcement presence. You know, that maybe sounds a little hard to say that. I'm proud of the relationship the police department has here in Fayette with our young people. I don't feel like they're intimidated by us at all. They respect us. They show us respect. We show them respect. I think we have a great relationship with our young people. But again, the jail, if the jail is managed in an appropriate way, especially these federal inmates that Justin spoke about, that's a great source of funding. That's a great source of funding. Now, when you start talking about putting an officer in a school, I done said he needs to be there as a law enforcement presence, not anything else. But it's more than sticking somebody in the school. There's equipment to buy, there's training to be had or to be conducted. The police department, and I'm sure the sheriff's department has went through the Alice training. It specifically targets, maybe a bad choice of word, but it focuses on active shooters. And we use the high school as a training facility. Dr. Madden allows us to do that, and we appreciate that. So that does a lot of things for us. As we train, we get familiar with the hallways, the rooms, and all these different areas that a shooter may be hiding or a perpetrator may be hiding. So it helps us to train in a real-world scenario by being in the school. Some simple things we can do. The elementary school has already done it. They have the pass logs. You have to be buzzed in. They see you on the camera, you ask for permission to come in. But here's the thing we've got to understand. The greatest thing we can do is not foolproof. I've been to the elementary school myself and wait for somebody to get buzzed in, and I just walk right in with them. So for every move, there's a counter move. You just got to be prepared for that and know that. But I think we need to start looking at what's going on in our homes. Now, we deal with a lot of things. The sheriff talked about going to the school. We're at the school. I'm at the high school every morning. We have an officer at the middle school and at the elementary school. And we can't be there all day. We can't be there all day. We have calls to answer. We have administrative things to do. There's things to be done. So somehow we've got to find a way to fund this. What it is, I don't know what the answer to that would be. There's been some ideas pushed up here, and they're all good. The only one that I don't know about the state money. I didn't know what's going on with the federal money right now. But we've got to address the issue, and we've got to come together to do that. But I think we've got to start looking at what's going on in our homes, and so we can stop preventing these things from even getting to school. We need to start talking to our parents. We need to start talking to our kids about what's going on in their lives and try to reach these people, because this is not an issue with the tools they're using or the places they're going. This is an issue with their hearts and their minds. There's a problem there.
Thank you. Next question we have. With recent allegations by the ACLU against sheriffs and police officers across the state of Alabama, with sheriff's offices pocketing excess prisoner food funding money, what is your plan of action to ensure the Fayette County does not get hit with allegations? And not only this, but as law enforcement has been attacked throughout our nation with different issues, what's your plan to kind of help make sure that our police force has a clean face?
4 minutes. Okay. The situation with the food, I understand what the law says. I know what the city of Fayette pays to the county as far as room and board for prisoners. I think we're paying $30 a day. But I've read about the lawsuit. I understand what the Attorney General's opinion is about the money that's not spent. It's considered part of the sheriff's salary. I understand that. The question I get asked mostly is if that's the case and it is legal, why don't just everybody open the books? I know 49 counties have been sued for lack of showing, or I can't think the name of they're not showing the records anyway. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I just know it just seems to me that if it's a legal situation, we should just open them and show them. And that's something that I would do straight away. That would be my first objective, is just go ahead and have a complete audit on everything involved with the sheriff's department, and just making that available to the public through the office, even the website. City of Fayette puts all its financials on the city's website every month. So I think that would go a long way to resolve that issue right there. As far as the face of law enforcement in general, nationwide, I don't think that we've been our own worst enemy sometimes. I'll admit that. But I think there's been a surge of, there's been an effort, I believe, to undermine law enforcement in this country by our media. They are quick to point out any little thing. That's one reason we implemented the body camera police department a few years ago. You know, we're gonna get complaints, we deal with people on a daily basis, and everybody doesn't like the outcome of that, and I get that, I understand that. I respect that even, but when we put those body cameras in place, I mean, I can't tell you the last time I got a complaint, because it's there. I don't have to ask the officer, I just hit the play button. And I think little tools like that do more to help us. Here's the thing, not only does it help my police department, it helps my community, because if one of our officers is doing something he shouldn't do, you know, it shows that as well. That would be something else that I would implement as sheriff of that county.
One thing that some folks may not realize is that the sheriff is personally responsible for the feeding of the inmates. And the thing is when we talk about this food money, and it's been in the papers countless times, the thing is no matter what, when that money comes back in, it's taxpayer dollars. So if I'm paying $10,000 a month for feeding of the inmates, and then I get a return from the state for $15,000, well, that extra $5,000, I don't care what the law says, that's taxpayers' money. And so that money needs to be accounted for, and the people need to see it. So the simplest way to do that would be to put it in a fund within the department that's easily visible for the community to see what's going on with their money. Because when that refund comes in and I've spent money wisely, well, that money needs to be accounted for. When we talk about the relationship with law enforcement in our communities, the biggest thing is making sure that the community knows you care about them. That's a way to combat any of the negative behaviors. Now, you're not going to stop it all. There's going to be people that are going to be negative, and that's just the way the world is. But when you're out and you're involved with your communities and you show them the compassion that they're seeking, and show them that you actually care, and that their problem means something to you, and that they're important to you, that's what helps generate a good working relationship between yourself and the community. So when we have instances of people, you know, the black eye law enforcement, or whatever you want to call it, you know, I can't speak or do something for somebody in another state. What I can do is, if I'm elected sheriff here, is to ensure that we're a part of the community and not something separate. And we'll have that relationship, and everybody will know that we're here for you. That's our ultimate goal in the first place. When you get into law enforcement, you should be getting into it to help people and keep people safe, and that should be your driving force. And so being a part of the community is what's going to keep that to where everybody's happy with everybody. Now, it's not going to work that way forever, for sure. And there's going to be disagreements, but as long as you're honestly and earnestly showing folks that you care, you're going to have a lot better outcome.
Talking about the money on the food bill, I think I read where Mr. South may correct me on this, that legislation has been introduced to change that law, so we may not have to worry about that problem. I think we're going to change that in the next session, the way I understood it. But I think, you know, the president needs to be fed free nutritious meals a day. You know, they are human beings. We need to feed them. We need to take care of them, and avoid these lawsuits. As far as our image in the public, we need to get out in the public, be active in the community, be safe, get to know your community. I agree with the chief on the body cameras. I've done several situations with the city. I was glad I had it on, because it probably saved folks coming in complaining and saying that you did this or you did that. And cameras don't lie. And chief stated, you know, he's got it right there. All he's got to do is pull it up. They're worth their money. I've always tried to show respect to people, and if you want respect, you've got to show it to people, and if you'll do that, the community will see that.
glad they brought the food bill up. Talking about some of the ones that's benefiting from the food bill, you look at some of the counties, talking about people making this excess money, are going to be looking at jails that are 500+ jails that are in large municipalities, that house federal inmates, that house for municipalities. When Chief said something about that getting $30 a day, I don't get $30 a day. County Commission gets 20, I get $10 a day of that. Also what happens is, through the state, I get $1.75 a day to feed inmates. That's 58 cents per meal. A lot of these larger jails have big walk-in coolers where people would donate food. They'll have truck wrecks or something happen. They can store that in there so they don't have to use the money that's allocated to them. I have to go to Walmart twice a week and get groceries to bring down our jail because we have 2 refrigerators and 1 freezer. See, the only municipalities I house for is the city of Berry and the city of Fayette. The city of Fayette only keep maybe 1 inmate, 2, city of Fayette, 3 or 4 in there. If it was not for the offset of that $10 a day from the city of Fayette or the city of Berry, and sometimes it does break even, it would be money out of my pocket. So I'm not one of those counties that's making $200,000 or $300,000 like maybe some of these other counties or whatever amount of money they're making. If you think you can feed an inmate off 58 cents a meal and make money, I want you to come show me how to do it. Because it's tough. It's hard to do it. It's hard to do it. It's tough to sit up here and for people to talk about you and say something about the money that you're making when they don't know everything's going on. You're talking about the audits. We're audited once a year. They come in and they wanted our records. We told them you can go to the state board examiners, you can get anything we got. I do not have the resources in my office to go back and have a secretary that acts as a secretary during the day, acts as a matron during the day, and acts as a dispatcher during the day. She can't go back and get all these records for you. They're available to you. We don't have a problem giving to you. Just go to the state examiners and get them. They're there. We're audited every year. We have nothing to hide. Anyone that ever wants to come down to any meal, breakfast, lunch, or supper, and eat with us, you're welcome to show up and eat. You'll see what we eat. Anytime. You don't have to call me. You show up and tell them you want to eat with us, you're welcome to eat. Talking about the community, I think what we're doing, you go to the community, if you ever look at any football game, basketball games, any kind of events going on, you see the sheriff's office there. We're in the schools. All the schools, we're not there all day long. We can't stay there all day long, but you never know when we're going to be there. By being at those events and being approachable by people, whether it's kids or those who it may be, getting to know them on a personal level, I think they get more comfortable with you. And that's something that we've done, and that's something we're going to continue to do. Thank you.
All right. And one last, just quick question that someone asked. Do you plan on lowering or changing the price of the permits?
That's something that has to be done through legislation. That's nothing to do with me on the price. That was in place when I took office, and that's something that has to be done through legislation.
Thanks so very much. And I'd like to personally thank each one of you for helping make our community safer. While these gentlemen are moving off the stage as the candidates for superintendent, if they would get ready for questions.